All right, welcome back, everybody. And for this segment of the program, we're going to be talking a bit more about the schedule. And one of the things that we wanted to really provide with this program was a really clear target schedule for the exercises that we're presenting. You know, just like any personal trainer, right? It's like we want to know not just what to do, but when to do it. And so, as much, we're going to start to dictate a little bit of like, how many times we should do some of the exercises that we've already talked about for the first week of the program. But before we get into the next stages of the program, um, you know, we have to have an idea of what our schedule is already, right? Before we start to modify it. And so
Oh
Brian and I
no, not that.
and so Brian and I were joking around when we were right before we started this segment because it's like, I was actually talking to him and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, this seems like kind of a boring exercise. I don't know if we should put this in the first part of the thing. It's like scaring everybody away. They're gonna think it's like, I don't know. But I personally I changed my mind as we were talking it out, and I just felt like we should do this right from the beginning. And one of the indicators for me that we should do it right from the beginning was how much trepidation I feel about doing it. And I feel like I'm a person that has a pretty good handle on like what I do most of the day. And yet I still feel kind of a fear response when I think about going to write down exactly what I actually do every day, like, in clear detail. And I don't even know, it's like, okay, I do have a pretty good sense of what I do most days, and yet I still feel anxiety about writing it down. And so I just think it's like, then there must be something there, right? There's got to be some juice there. There's got to be some, I mean,
Yeah,
it's important.
your conscious mind is saying, pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain. And it's
Right,
like,
right,
you're busy all the time.
right. Right.
You're busy you're so industrious. You're so like just cranking on all cylinders every day. You collapse into bed at the end of the day because you're just so exhausted from all of the work that you've done from the time that you cracked an eyelid open to the time that you collapse in bed. So, and probably not, so I'm being nice, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, but we don't know, right, until we have a baseline. Like if you were going to do a triathlon, something physically demanding, and maybe you were athletic, but you hadn't done that before, and you got a trainer to help you with it. They'd be like, okay, here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're going to have to come up to, run this many miles a week, and we're going to have to swim this much and spend this many hours in the pool, and you're going to have to bike this much time, and put in these many miles, and and if you started looking at it and going like, oh gee, I can't do that, well, he'd be like, I mean, if he was a good trainer, he'd be like, okay, then don't do a triathlon. It's like, because I don't want you beating the hell out of yourself, and then and then dying on the first lap because you didn't do enough training to get into what you wanted to do, right? So just be okay with going to the gym twice a week or something. You don't have to prove anything by being a triathlete. It's like I mean, I think it's important that we kind of take this on the same level, to some degree. I mean, people want all of these fantastic things, but what do we said right from the beginning, it's like, what are you willing to sacrifice? It's like, all these exercises take time, it takes discipline, but sacrificing, where are you going to find the time? Where you're going to have to sacrifice it from other places, right? And usually, I mean, my recommendation would be, sacrifice it from those places that have the least amount of value for you. You're not going to take it away from your sleep. I mean, we're just, we got to get a good sleep pattern down, right? So you want to make sure that you're well rested. The other thing is, you don't want to take it, you don't want to take all of that away from family time, right? Or something like that. You can't take it away from work, or at least not parts of it, right? So, where are you going to take it? Well, I look at the things that have the least amount of value, like TV. It's always the big one, right? Computer time, it's just like social media, fooling around with Facebook, or YouTube videos, or whatever. I mean, it's like, and that's the real reason. It's like we need to know the baseline. We need to be honest. The one thing that I would say, we need to be brutally honest with ourselves. If the commitment of what you're trying to do, the commitment of time and discipline to do that is not worth the goal, then don't waste your time. It's like TV's calling, man, get back to it. It's like, if it's not really that important to you, if it's not really important to have that in your life, then, then let it go, but be honest with yourself that, it's not that you don't have the time. It's that, you're not willing to sacrifice stuff that isn't that important in the long run. And so, everybody's different, and that's okay. So, but I think it's, uh, it would be, not honest to string people along thinking like, oh yeah, you can record your dreams once a month, and look at, do the burning meditation, you know for 5 minutes once a week. And it's like, no, that's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Or it would take you 100 years to produce a result with that type of schedule, right? It's like, how important is it to you? And so if it's important and you've gotten to this stage, then you want to find out what your baseline is. And the only way we know that is to really record it. Don't do it from memory. Do your initial draft from memory, and do it for 7 days, right? Like, find out, because your schedule isn't the same every day. I mean, it's sort of the same, like certain parts of it are the same, right? Hopefully you're getting up and going to bed relatively the same time, but it's not always the same, right? So you want to, do you have weekends off? Do you have, days in the week off, or you have some time off, right? So those days are probably going to be a little bit different scheduled than the days that you have to go to work. And so, just do it from memory as a first draft, right? And leave some space between all those lines. Like, I would print out a page of 24 hours a day, right? Because we're putting as much emphasis and attention on our nighttime hours sleeping as we are on our daytime, right? That's just part of it. So you want to, find out what these baselines are, right? If I get up at 6 and, I do, an hour worth of getting ready, and then I travel into work, and then I'm there by, 8 o'clock, or, maybe it's 9 o'clock, whatever, and then I go through, my day. It's like, here's when I get lunch breaks. Here's when I get another break of 15 minutes. Why is that important? You're not going to lucid dream at work. Well, there are exercises that we can do, imbibing type of exercises, which is tiny exercises done throughout the day that will, keep us moving and start to build up that compound interest, right? Because we're putting attention on it even during the time when we're supposed to be working, which is, that's not to take away from work, but there's those little breaks in between where, it doesn't take any more than, a minute, 30 seconds to do a reality check, right? So, and we'll incorporate that into all this, but we need to know what the baseline is first. And it's a good reality check for yourself to see, how committed are you to this, right? It's like, do I want to run a damn triathlon or not? It's like, and, there is a commitment there, and there's discipline and sacrifice that goes along with that. So, yeah. So it's like, I think that that's important right from the beginning. So, mark out 7 pages of just a list of hours. That's all, 24 hours, and see, and then just mark it down Monday through Sunday, and, do it from memory, like, oh, you can probably sit down and sort of sketch out really quickly, what's the general parameters of your day hour wise. And then, take those sheets with you wherever you go for a week, and really list it out. Now, I don't need all the details, right? And I'm not going to see it. Obviously you are, but it can be startling to see where, you know, if everybody thinks that they're so, you know, they have not a moment in the day to do anything else. And then they see, if they really are honest and put down exactly what's going on with, you know, their day, and then they see all these gaps of time and they go, holy hell. No, that can't be. I'm so busy. I'm like overwhelmed. You know, it's like, no, you've got to see it. It's such an important exercise, you know. So you can really, you know, get used to being honest with yourself and see where there are gaps, right? Because maybe it's not that important to you, and if it's not, better to get out now. So instead of just adding one more, you know, one more thing that you're going to be frustrated with, and one more, you know, something that you're going to be disappointed about yourself in, you know, when you don't make it. So,
Right.
you know, better to be, you know, upfront with yourself right from the beginning and say, okay, you know, I watch, you know, 3 hours of TV a day. You know, it's like more on the weekends when the sports teams come on or whatever. Is like, what kind of impact is that having on your life? You know, and you know, is it adding or taking away from your life? You know, compared to something that can add, you know, an incredible measure to your life. You know, if I said, you know, do you want to go watch the movie Avatar, or do you want to be in the movie Avatar? What's your choice? Right? Do you want to watch your two favorite sports teams? Do you want to watch your favorite quarterback, you know, win the Super Bowl, or do you want to be that quarterback winning the Super Bowl on your favorite team? You know, that gives a whole new meaning to armchair quarterback, right? So it's like one of those things. That's what I'm trying to get across to people. But we need to start from scratch, right? We need to see where the time is and where we can put in it. Again, I find this exercise really valuable. And you're not gonna, it's not something that you're gonna continue to do. Because I guarantee you, once you have your first experience, you're going to find time that you didn't even know was there. You know, and it's like those schedules are going to go out the window. Going to be like, I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to do this now. I'm going to observe my mind and find more fear, and I'm going to take care of it tomorrow. You know, it's like you're gonna be like, oh no, honey, I don't want to watch the, you know, sitcom. I don't want to watch The Simpsons anymore. I'm gonna go do my burning meditation. So it's like because that's the kind of impact that this experience has on people, right? It's like that's the thing. So but in the beginning, we need a place to start. We need to know where the baseline is. So that's why I think it's so important. So you're gonna, you know, once you have the memory part down, you'll compare it to the reality, which is usually far apart for most people, and you know, and write it down. So like I said, you don't need to be like anal about it and put down all these tiny little details. No, it's like generally, like, what did you do this hour? You know, oh, I was at work, I was doing my job, whatever it was. Okay, you know, and there were no breaks in that time period for that, let's say 9 to 10 o'clock. You know, you were in your job. No skipping off to Facebook, no skipping off to YouTube for a quick 5-minute upcharge or whatever. You know, none of that crap. You know, if it is, write it down, right? But you know, it's like, how much time do you get for lunch? When is that? You know, it's like all of those little things during the day. And then on your days off, you know, and when you come home, obviously through the whole thing, you know, you get home at this time, you know, what are your routines? You have to cook dinner for somebody, you know, all of these things, right? And then you have your relaxed time, hopefully, you know, at the end of the day. Maybe, you know, you get 2 hours to relax at the end of the day. Maybe, you know, you have this routine of watching a movie with your wife or your husband at the day, or your kids. You know, you read the kids a book before they go to bed, or, you know, you have this whole routine. That's all, those are all important and fantastic, right? So it's like, but put them down realistically. You know, how much time is taken up with all of that? And then, you know, once you have that down realistically every day, then you can look at it honestly and say like, oh, okay, you know, here are good days to do this. And, you know, here's a place where I can do that. And, gee, that long form burning meditation, that takes like 50 minutes to an hour guided. So, but it's really important to me, where can I sacrifice a piece of time? Like, do I really need to watch that show again? Do I really need to, do this or that? It's like, can I take that out and put this in because it's important to me? And I really, really, really want to do this, because it won't just affect me, but it'll affect everybody around me. And that's a great place. So, whatever you need to do to inspire yourself and motivate yourself to do that. But yeah, I think that the scheduling thing is a great place to start, and it will illuminate other things, and that's sort of the scary part, right? It's like, oh, maybe it wasn't that I didn't have the skill set or whatever to do this other thing. I just didn't put the time into it. And look, I found 15 or 20 hours of time in this weekly schedule where I could put in additional things, things that will produce a better quality of life for me. And it's not that I want you to do stuff, even this stuff, constantly, not a saturation level where you don't have any relaxation. I mean, relaxation and enjoying your family and your friends and yourself is a huge part of life, right? It's one of the best things. I mean, it's not something I want you to divorce yourself from, right? So it's the idea is like, just look at it. I mean, what we're asking you to do, is probably the equivalent of, at least at this point in the early stages, 2 or 3 hours a week if we break it up, so, because it's not all at once, right? It's like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes here and there, 20 minutes of this, on and on and on. So it's like, but that's not much for practice.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't. We're kind of giving you I'm giving you the, sort of the middle of the road. If you
Right.
wanted to increase that and do more, then that would be better for you, right? You're going to hit your goal sooner.
So
right?
let's talk about that too, because we do want to get into a little bit more scheduling stuff as we go deeper into the course. But just for this, for these next 2 weeks of the
Right.
program, with the what do you want, why do you want it, observation and burning, and recording your dreams. Let's just give a brief little outline, like how much time should we be taking to do that, and what's a good amount of times to have done the observation and the burning?
Right. I mean, observation, I would say, again, 5 to 10 minutes a day. You could probably do that. Let's say, I would say, if you get a total over 2 weeks, let's say 2 to 4 times over, like, let's say 2 times in 1 week and 2 times in the next week, right? That would be adequate. So that's the middle of the road territory, right? So the burning I would do, because that's more important once, because the observation is to identify, right? And it takes a short period of time. If you wanted to do that every day, it's only going to benefit you. But again, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I don't want you to get, so overwhelmed that you can't think straight and it's just like too much, too soon, right? Let your motivation drive you. But here's a baseline, okay? 2 times this week, you're going to do, and then 2 times next week, you're going to do observation of thoughts, but you're going to do them with that specific question in mind. What's the fear of lucid dreaming for you? Once you have that and it's written down, you're going to do I would say 2 short editions of the burning meditation and 1 long during each week, to produce, to start burning away that fear, because that's a barrier, right? We want to burn those down, as much as possible. And I think, I forget how long the short-term burning is.
It's about 40 minutes.
The short one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Total,
So,
with the relaxation of the body and. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's, maybe 3 times is too much, then maybe twice. If you want to do 3 times, fantastic, fantastic. I mean, that's a really good, that's better than average to do 3 times of that. So if you do that, but I would do at least twice, try to get that in twice, specifically burning the fear that was brought up in the observation of thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. So, And then, you're going to record your dreams, right? You're going to record them every day. So that's just sort of going to be a constant, right? So, you miss a day, okay. But you pick it back up and the next day you do the same thing. And so, that whole, that's important because it's starting to put, that's not just dissipating hurdles, but that's actually adding attention and energy toward making dreams more important, right? So you're adding to that. So, there's always that balance of those two things, right? Taking stuff away that you don't need, adding in the things that you do need. And so recording your dreams is part of that, right? So it's putting more attention on it. So you're going to do that every day, as cursory as you can, to make it as, like I said, I don't write them down a lot. I record them now, and then I just print them out on the computer, right? So I have my journals that way now, but I used to write them down, and they were very short and sweet. So, and then
so what do you want and why do you want
what do you want? Why do you want it? That's the one that probably has a bit of a caveat to it. And so I would say like this, I would take 3 days to do that. Just in general, if you're going to go at it with a relatively robust amount of time, like start it when you're fresh, so it's like, because it's going to tax your brain a little bit to get in there and do that. Maybe not so much the what do you want, but definitely why do you want it, right? So, you're going to have to put a little thought into it. So it might take a few days to sort of, you do some and then you go away and then you come back and you sit down, and you do a little more and like that. Now, the caveat that I was speaking about is like some people will take an extended period of time to do this, and if that's you, don't worry about it. That's okay. If you need 2 weeks to do that, a good thorough job, that can only benefit you. I'm not saying people have to do it or it will be bad if you don't spend that much time. That's not it at all. But if you are really, really into that process and you're really getting a lot out, well, that's only, there's no negative to that, right? So you really want to hit that, why, what's that cinch pin why, if you can get to it, it's like, but don't beat yourself up if you can't. Any whys will start to compound and you'll be looking at it and you'll add to it later if you want to, right? So, and it may change too, like the what you actually want. Right now, it may be just to find out if this is actually true. If you can actually get into a lucid dream one time, see you later. Wow, I did it. Wow, that's awesome. Great. Done. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I would bet a lot of money that, that people won't do that, because once you have that first experience, you're just like, that's it. You're hooked, right? For the most part. So, if that's the case, then that's fine. And so, you're at that point, you may go like, holy crap, I didn't believe it. And now I've done it. I want stage 2. So, now it's like, your want may have just been to like, I want to prove this guy wrong, whatever, take your worst what you want. And so, and it's like, oh, damn it, I actually got in, holy crap, and then it's like your whole what changes, right? So it's like, now you want to move to the next stage, or now you want to go to the farthest stage, or you don't even know where it will end. It's like you're going to, really engage it with a whole new level of enthusiasm and just wonder, right? So, you're going to do that. So, but again, if it takes you longer to do the what do you want, why do you want it, do it. That's fine. And then engage it. Remember, these things are all in your library. So it's like you're not competing against anybody, right? It's not a competition. It's not a race, right? You're only competing against yourself. So it's like, can you get to the next step? Can you do the next thing? Can you see progress? Can you make it happen? These are the things. It's like just the ability to actually set an alarm and get up at an odd time when we get to that place. That's already a victory. Most people can't do that when they get up in the morning. they hit the alarm and they roll over and just 5 more minutes, just 5 more minutes, hit the snooze, 5 more minutes, hit the snooze, 5 more minutes, hit the snooze. It's like, you know, you know. All right, man. I don't want to give all your secrets away, but so that's it. So yeah, so engage the process. It'll be, some parts you'll love, some parts will be brutal, but it will all benefit you no matter what. So, and it's only going to make this whole thing, so much more engaging. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, right? So it's like,
it's probably going to be a little bit of both.
There's no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen, because I haven't met anybody yet that was like prodigy lucid dreamer. Okay. They all had some crash and burns. So it's like, but that's it. That's part of it, right? It's like, if it was completely sterile, nobody would do this. It'd be like, there's no challenge.
What do you mean by sterile?
Like we said, like with the 9-piece puzzle for a toddler, right? It's like, how many times can you there's no uncertainty, right? So there's no variety. There's no challenge there, right? If you just knew, like, oh, take this drug, you'll go to a lucid dream, and, it'll hold you like Inception, right? Oh, I'm going to take this IV and it puts me in that, in the dream, and, holds me stable in that place, and I can wander around and do whatever, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, it's like, I mean, yeah, obviously they had some challenges too. It's a movie, right? But it's like, if it was just so, if it was just so plastic like that, so artificial and conform to, just over and over again, I mean, people would lose interest, right? It's like, why do you think people buy video games after video games after video games? It's like they get through one and they're hooked, right? And they want to go to another one, and they engage that, and it's something different, a little challenging, a little this, a little that. So that's like, that whole industry is spurred on by novelty and, challenge, uncertainty, right? Athletics is like that too, right? It's a challenge, whether you're challenging yourself or challenging others, or challenging yourself against others, races and things like that. So it's, people need challenges. And so this is no different. I mean, how much better will it be when you get there if you've got to, jump all these hurdles and, kind of get through these mazes and do whatever, right, to get in and sort of really put yourself through the paces, right? I mean, you're going to be like, holy crap, it's like, I really went through a lot and I got here, and that's pretty awesome. So
good feeling.
What else can I do?
Yeah.
That's always my thing. It's like, wow, I did, what the hell else can I do? It's like, never satisfied, just keep pushing the boundaries, so so do that with the scheduling, and engage the practices at least that number of times, or try to find the time to do that, and we'll find more time once you do the schedule thing, and you can see where you can manipulate that a little bit more, so, but you want to engage it on some level every day. That's sort of that immersion technique, right? It's like, you want to, it's like, think about a new relationship, like a new love interest, right? It's like, Jesus, it's like, you can't get it out of your head, right? You can't get them out of your head. It's like, you go to work and every spare moment, sometimes when you really have to get something done, and they're like popping into your head, right? It's like, they're everywhere. Everything reminds you of them. Everything is like, it's like, it's on a level like that. You want to be, I don't want to say infatuated, because that seems a little too trite, but the idea is that, it's so engaging. You want to do a little bit every day. You want to keep moving and keep compounding that. It's going to get you to your goal a lot faster. And once you hit that first one, like I said, all bets are off at that point. It's like, not going to need any prodding by me. It's like, oh, do a schedule, keep up with it. You're doing great. It's like, it's going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Maybe 7 nights a week is a little much. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's why we do that. And hopefully all you guys will engage that process, and you'll learn a lot about yourself. And I think that'll be good. Be brutally honest with yourself, with your timing and your schedule, and see what's going on there. Then we have a baseline to work with.
So next, a week from today, I'm going to be checking in, and you guys will see that right in the library, probably right below this video. And we're probably not going to add more exercises 1 week from now. We're just going to do basically a check-in where we might tweak things and kind of talk about what's going on, and use that as a way to kind of just reflect on some of the exercises that we've already established. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to start to introduce some more techniques. So, and that'll be our rhythm. So every 2 weeks, there'll be new exercises. And then in those in-between weeks, we're going to do check-ins. And so we'll just modify and tweak things. And Brian will kick my ass and tell me where I'm just being,
And you'll know when you find it in the library, because it'll be the picture of him like crying.
There is probably going to be a little bit of that. Oh gosh.
We should put little things on there. We should copy, like, social media stuff, like a little thumbs up, little thumbs down, it's like for all of Dustin's, when we go through all the check-ins and
Brian, do you remember? Do you remember that story you told me one time about that kid and the getting pulled out of church? And because that's how I feel right now, and maybe you could share that story, because I feel like it's kind of a perfect to end this first week. So
I was in a church service a long time ago, and it was a summer day. It was relatively nice, later in the afternoon or whatever. And as anybody who's been into, any organized thing like that, right? It's like, there's always people there with younger children, which is fine, right? It's like, we've all been there, we've done it. And so, but it was really funny because, there's always the one, that's like, just can't stay still and just, dropping books on the floor and, like old enough to know better, but just can't contain himself. And, and most of it is just sort of like, it's not that annoying, right? It's like, we're just sort of chuckling a little bit, like, and on the other hand, we're chuckling and we're also saying like, oh God, thank God that's not mine, because even though we've been there. So all of a sudden, and you can hear like the mom's getting more and more like upset with this kid, and so finally, she's like, you can hear you can't hear the words, but you can hear the threatening tone, right? It's like, if you don't stop that, basically, if you don't stop that, your father's going to take you outside and you're going to get a beating, something like that, right? And so, and so it's like, there's a little calm moment, and then all of a sudden it starts up again, and finally it's just like she makes this sharp gesture or whatever, and it's like the dad picks up the kid, and the kid's like, he's like, no, and he's like he's going and he's walking to the back of the church, and he opens these big doors, and as the door, because those doors are really big and they're heavy, right? So they're on these hinges that, or something that keeps them from slamming shut. And as he's, and everybody's kind of like going like, oh no, it's like, and the door's still propped open, but it's shutting. And as it's shutting, you hear the kid yell out, "Pray for me." And everybody in the church just started laughing, even the priest. It was hilarious. I was like, oh my God, that was absolutely hysterical. And, even the mom was laughing at that point. It was like, if she could have pulled him back, she would have at that point. So it just took all the tension out of the air, but it was hilarious. And it was just, I don't know why you thought of that, but it's like, I guess you're wanting people to pray for you, for a speedy recovery.
I'm good, but that just popped into my mind,
I just love that story. It's so funny. Those spontaneous things. It's great. So,
Totally.
Yeah. But all right, that was a good note to leave us on.
Totally.
That's very cool.
All right. Well, enjoy and good luck with it. And we'll be checking in soon.
We'll be checking in soon.
All right. See ya.